Right after that, we want you to sing Ice Ice Baby.
You got it. I'll be better at that.
We're working on it up to now.
All right, we are streaming. You're good?
Good morning.
Morning.
Let's open with the pledge. Mr. Godby, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, I don't have my statements out here.
Didn't know by heart yet.
No, you would think so by now. I guess that's pretty sad. 10 years and I still have to read it. All right, the
Cheryl,
mission.
before you do the mission statement, I'm gonna go ahead and take roll real quick.
Oh, okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Stephen Gay,
Here, present.
Bruce Friend,
Here.
Rita Hare, Dave Machado, Hilda Parlay,
Present.
Cheryl Turner,
Here.
Todd Godby,
Here.
Bart Danielson, Shelley Shope, John Eldridge,
Here.
and Eric Sanchez. All right, we have a quorum.
All right, the mission of the Charter School Advisory Board. The Charter School Advisory Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. Our ethics statement. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflict of interest as we handle the work of the Advisory Board. Does any member of the Advisory Board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting?
Madam Chair, Bunny Classical. I will recuse.
Okay. If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Okay, we need to approve the agenda for today.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda for the June 6th meeting of the CSAP.
Second. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We need to approve the May minutes, both the special, do we have to approve those separately, Ashley, the special from the, okay. Both the special called meeting and the regular meeting? Are there any changes to the minutes? And hearing none, can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the minutes of our prior two meetings, the May meeting and the special call meeting.
I'll second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the time has come for us to nominate a new chair and vice chair.
You can go ahead and, yep, we can do that, and then I'll do the administrative updates after that.
Okay, great. So let's start with the chair. Not any nominations for chair for the upcoming school year.
Madam Chair, I nominate Bruce Friend as chair.
I'd like to second the nomination if you require a second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Hearing none. It's been properly moved and seconded. Can we take a voice vote on this one, please? Oh, any discussion? I should ask that part first. Can we take a voice vote? Ashley?
Yep. All right. Stephen Gay,
Yes, approved.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Because that's how
Rita Hare,
Wow.
Aye.
I didn't know this.
Hilda Parlay,
For yourself.
Approved.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez,
Aye.
and John Eldridge.
Aye.
Okay. Bruce
Congratulations,
Friend,
new
you
chair,
are new
Mr.
chair.
Bruce Friend.
Thank you for serving.
Yeah. Okay, we now need to vote for a vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Madam Chair, I nominate Dr. Eldridge, John Eldridge.
Am I allowed to second?
Yeah.
I want to second that one. Any other nominations? Hearing none? Any discussion? Let's vote.
All right. Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Approves.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez,
Aye.
and John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Let's see, we have a couple. Okay, so we have some administrative updates I kind of wanted to give you guys. As you know, most of you know, I think that we take a little break in the summer. If we need a special called meeting, we will hold that. But otherwise, you have at your seat the previously approved calendar for the remainder of 2023. So we will start meeting again in person here in September, at which time we will start up with our charter school application interviews. And you should have been receiving some information about Edlusion getting onto the system to begin the application reviews. We have 15 total charter school applications. So during the summer, that's kind of for our newer members, that's kind of the time we take during the summer to really review those applications and get prepared for the interviews that will commence in the fall. And then Ms. Rackley will be providing more information about that throughout the summer. So just keep up with your emails and we'll be, updating you that way. Any questions about the upcoming schedule? Okay, so before we get on to more to the agenda business, we are very sad today to announce that this is Cheryl Turner's last meeting. She has been obviously an invaluable member of CSAB for many, many years. She has many, many years. She has over 20 years of experience leading Sugar Creek. We are certainly thankful and appreciative for all of the guidance and knowledge that she's provided here, but also for sharing it with everyone that comes before this board and the charter applicants and the schools that are becoming up for renewal and all those things. So we do have a little something for you, Cheryl, and we will also celebrate with you at lunch. But I wanted to kind of open the floor to any other board members that would like to send a little farewell to Cheryl.
Cheryl, I tell you, you've been one of the best chairs of any organization of which I have experience. Very knowledgeable, very direct, matter of fact, but always making sure the job is done and that your contributions have helped so many kids, which is why we all are sitting here today. And I appreciate your mentorship and your kindness. And stay around for just a little longer, will you? Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Cheryl, wow. I remember my first CSAP meeting, I sat over there where Todd is at, and I felt, oh my gosh, I'm sitting around the table, and there's Lynn Kroger, and there's Alan Hawks, and there's Joe Mamoni, and then there was Cheryl Turner. And you've forgotten more about charter school policy than I ever knew. And it always amazes me to this day how you can bring up a school, whether it was from last month or 5 years ago, which you're like, oh, I remember that. And just an incredible advocate for school choice in our state. I know that'll continue. Piggybacking off of the other comments too, but an advocate for quality school choice and never shy away to challenge both applicants and current operators to be better than they are. And all of us that lead schools, you've set a really high bar for us to meet that challenge. So just thank you for all that you've done and becoming a friend over the years as well.
Remember my cognitive review that you did this morning? So she was on the team that came to do a review at the school, and I was like, oh, that's that Sugar Creek lady. And then I got up here to saw her on I didn't even realize I had a CSAB member doing a review at my school, but just like Bruce said, I was telling her in there, the history that you know, everything that you know about charter schools, I'm gonna sorely miss that. I'm gonna be calling, I know that. Keeping an eye on you. I really appreciate everything. And I know you probably, what do you say, you got one more year?
I'm going out in 25.
2 more years?
Yeah.
Well, I hope to be at that party too.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Cheryl, I also want to just say I admire your leadership. You're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you've been a great leader and support to this board through the entire time of service. You're wonderful at processing information and making decisions. It's important when we serve here, and being right a lot of the time because of the wealth and experience that supports your decision making. And all at the same time, very unassuming. A great leader, but not someone that puts themselves out there. And I just appreciate that. We'll miss you very much and miss your input into this process.
Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
She wasn't gonna come at first, and I said, oh, yes, you are.
Thank you.
Even if I had to go out and pick her up.
Can I say, I've known Cheryl for a long time.
Yeah.
My first stint on this board, we were together. We've done a lot outside of the school. I've learned a ton. There's a certain level of integrity and confidence that I think come out every time you lead. I think it comes from your preparation, but I think more from that, it comes from a level of just humility and objectivity that's just different. And a lot of people don't have that. They can't be humble at the same time as being direct, and I think you can, and you show it all the time. And you let the content and the ideas be objectively looked at, and you make decisions based on the information instead of anything else or any other egos or hang-ups or anything else. And as a leader, I've learned a lot, so thank you, Cheryl, for everything.
Cheryl, everything they said, and from me, thank you for answering dumb questions without judging, because I've done a lot of that over the last couple of years.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
I whisper them on the side.
I'm just saying.
Did you say that, right?
Well, I thank you guys. I'm greatly appreciative. This has been a long haul. It's been 10 years. And I can't say that I enjoyed all of them. But what I have enjoyed is the opportunity to work with the quality of leadership that sits on this board and has sat on this board over time. And how much I've learned from people. And the commitment that the people on this board have to quality education for all students. And the fact that we consistently kept pushing for that. And now we are looking at a landscape where we really are providing options for all students. The narrative on us going in was that we were going to cherry pick and all that kind of good stuff. But what's really happening on the ground in schools is that we are providing options for all kids, and it's making a difference for all kids. And that took our being consistent and diligent about pushing for that. And I so appreciate the quality of the people who've been on this board, the commitment of the people who've been on this board to make that happen. You guys are getting ready to go into having way more power. If this thing goes through about the board, review board, you're going to have way more power, which also means you have way more responsibility. Because schools that are open or renewed are going to be based on what happens here. And I would just encourage you to continue to keep the level of standards that you've had, because our whole community depends on it, and our students depend on it. And so I think CSAB's an awesome board. I do. I really do. I feel honored to have had the opportunity to serve. And I look forward to hearing what you guys do in the future.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, please, guys. Thank you. That's why I didn't want to come. Before we go on, may I introduce? So, talk about great pleasure. I can't believe I get to do this at my last meeting. Several years ago, the state finally allowed charter schools to have a Teacher of the Year to be part of the statewide competition. And I am so proud to say that this year's Charter School Teacher of the Year is Mr. Ryan Henderson, who is the digital media teacher at the Sugar Creek Charter School. And as part of that, the Charter School Teacher of the Year serves ex officio on our board. And so with honestly great pleasure, I introduce you Mr. Ryan Henderson. You guys will see, he's an awesome dude. Awesome dude.
Ryan, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I'll just start from the beginning and make it quick. Philadelphia native. Most of my formal education was in South Jersey, which is right over the bridge. You have to be specific when you say Jersey. New York, but no, this is South Jersey. This is my 6th year in North Carolina. I'm a husband, a father of 4, grandfather. Education has been something for me that really resonates. Once you have your own children and you see the disparity in socioeconomic statuses, opportunities, people may not have an idea of where they can go with their minds. That made it not just something I picked up, but something that I wanted to do, a passion of mine, to work with younger people. So when we came down here, the first place that I walked into was Sugar Creek Charter School, and that was not by accident. That I don't believe in coincidences like that. And I started at main campus with Ms. Turner, and I learned so much just being around Sugar Creek Charter School and having an opportunity to work with the population that I work with every day. I got back into what I went to school for, thank God, which is TV broadcasting. And from that, I feel that I have the best job in the building because I get to touch on every subject in every area of our school and share it with the community. So for me, that's a gift. That's a pleasure of mine. And to be nominated just by Sugar Creek Charter School alone was it for me. It really, and no disrespect, it didn't matter what the state had to say, because I know who I work with and the quality of teachers that we have at Sugar Creek Charter School. I could have named 5 more people that could have been selected ahead of me, and I would have said, that's right. That's absolutely right, and I would have backed them all the way. So just to be nominated by Sugar Creek Charter School was it for me. Everything else is icing on the cake. I look forward to working with the rest of you. Communication is my thing. I like to talk, but I talk with a purpose. I don't like to waste my words. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you all for this opportunity, and especially Ms. Cheryl Turner for all she's done for me since I've been down here.
Welcome. Well, congratulations again.
All right, Kumar?
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us here today. So my name is Michael Marr. I serve as a Deputy State Superintendent overseeing standards accountability research. And so that the division that I oversee also includes the Office of Charter Schools. And so I'm going to talk a little bit today about some of the latest analysis we've done around student learning recovery. And then I'll be joined by Mr. Kalen Clifton, who's going to work through this presentation with me. So I think some folks are new. Some folks perhaps remember me from last year. We did the first learning loss kind of analysis report in the country last year. So North Carolina has really worked hard to lead in terms of looking at kind of student performance, tracking student performance over time, and then bringing actionable data to our PSUs throughout the state to then lead the way in kind of identifying which particular groups of students are most in need of intervention, and then targeting those remaining ESSER funds towards those interventions so that we can, of course, accelerate our learning recovery. So you may remember last year we provided, as I mentioned, a learning loss report. We have since done a second analysis, so this is year 2 of the work now, and we're transitioning to what we are calling a learning recovery analysis, right? So we're moving away from this idea of learning loss and more towards the idea of learning recovery. And so as we kind of get into this here, right, we work really hard to provide actionable data. So we are moving away as both an office, and I'm really pushing on the agency side, to move away from just providing purely summary statistics. I don't think summary statistics do you a lot of good. What we want to do is provide you an analysis of data so that you can make good decisions when it comes to policy making. So just kind of wrapping up our last report, we submitted the final report to JLOC back in December, and then there are a series of white papers on our website. So one of the things that we've continued to do is take each of those pieces of data, dig further into it, and then provide white papers that are accessible to the general public. Right? So our idea with the white paper is that we don't want to provide, we're not writing journal articles. And so if you don't know much about me, I actually came out of higher education. I spent 16 years in higher ed, and so know a lot about, right, promotion and tenure and publishing papers and what that means. But what we're trying to do is provide data that's actionable and interpretable and approachable. So last year when you saw our learning loss report, what we talked about was the graphs that we give you, there's a line there. Everything's kind of centered on that line. And that line is what we expect in terms of student performance. We expect those bars to really cluster around that 0. And what that means in essence is that students made approximately a year of growth over that given year of schooling. And you'll see that it kind of moves slightly to the right or to the left in a given year. So this is kind of a normal year pre-pandemic, and you can look across any number of years, and those bars will change slightly. Some are slightly beyond the 0, some are just slightly behind the 0. But what we saw during the pandemic was pretty staggering results. Large negative losses for all students, all subgroups, in virtually all subjects, with the exception of English 2. That is a little bit of an anomaly. Part of that has to do with the way, with the relationship between English 1 and English 2, and it's the same standards. So we're kind of cycling that work, and so we didn't see the same kinds of losses that we would have seen as compared to the other subjects. So again, this is what we saw immediately post-pandemic, and in particular, really large losses in the middle grades and in mathematics. Okay, so now moving forward to the next set of results, just a reminder, so this is a population study, right? This isn't just so you may follow some of the national news around learning loss. I think there's a lot that gets put out where they use kind of NWEA data and some other data. And really what those studies are, those are samples, right? So they're taking, in essence, representative samples of kids across the country, and then they're extrapolating that out and saying kids in the United States have lost X number of months of learning or whatever it might be. The challenge there is, and I would put to you that no two states manage the pandemic in the same way. And no two states really experience the pandemic in much the same way. And so I have a really hard time when I see this national data and then this kind of national perspective when we have an opportunity here in North Carolina to talk very specifically about what we saw. And so our study actually includes roughly 1.4 million kids. It's not based on a sample size, it's all of the kids, right? And so all of the things, all of the data that you will see is statistically significant because of the large size of the data. It also goes beyond this idea of grade level proficiency. So what you could expect is kind of these proficiency retreats due to the pandemic, right? Kids lost some time, therefore we see that. But what we're really interested in is where are kids in terms of their growth? Where did we expect them to be? Where did they end up being? And so the way this data is structured is it takes the data that we have available to us and then creates a projection. So we work with SAS and the EVOS team at SAS, and they create a projection that says, given a normal year of schooling without the pandemic, here is where we would have projected students to be. And then we have another year of data, and then we can say, well, here's where kids actually are. So we had kind of 2018, then we looked at the projected score, and then we looked at where kids actually were, right? So given the normal year, it would have been relatively flat, and then we see these large declines as a result of the pandemic. And now we have another year of data, which we're going to show you today. Right? And then, again, just a reminder, this data actually goes well beyond what we normally report at the agency. So ordinarily, when we do data analysis, in the past, it's always been done by, in essence, demographic subgroup that is kind of fixed based on the federal kind of designations around accountability. And so we've actually gone beyond that, and this data includes not only race and ethnicity and sex, but it also looks at students who are chronically absent. It looks at AIG status, students with disabilities, students experiencing homelessness, foster students, and military-connected students, just to name a few. So far more comprehensive than we've ever done before. Okay. And then inside of that, as I mentioned earlier, what we're really interested in is providing you more of the analysis of data as opposed to just those summary statistics. So what we also find in our report is we have looked at the interactions between the school type as well as the types of students. So race and ethnicity split by sex. So how did African-American male boys fare on middle grades math, right? For example. We also looked at urbanicity and A through F grades, and it's a very comprehensive report, to say the least. Okay? And then a little bit about effect sizes. What you're going to see in the data is everything is converted to what's known as an effect size. And so we use an effect size basically because we have different scales on our different tests. And so we need to balance it out so that we can give you kind of one interaction kind of metric, and you do that by creating an effect size. And then how you interpret an effect size, which can be positive or negative, is a small effect will be less than 0.05. A medium effect is 0.05 to 0.2, and then a large effect is 0.2 or greater, right? So this is how impactful was, and we use effect sizes for interventions, for studies, but we can also use it for test score analysis. So how impactful or how large was the magnitude of the effect, okay? And so I'm going to have Kaylin join me as we kind of talk through a little bit of what you're going to see in the report for this year.